Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Danny's Weekend Sports Wrap right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast for this weekend. And what a weekend, and actually what a few days we have had with all kinds of things stirring and popping on and off the courts and fields. And a lot of it is not necessarily delightful news, and some of it is just plain fun. We'll dive into it coming up next as we deal with Sporting Kansas City, the Royals, the Chiefs, and a whole lot more on this edition of Danny's Weekend Sports Wrap.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, the Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code Clinkscale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention. And our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
Get a refreshing change of your expectations of a sports bar and restaurant at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. Matt Llewellyn's welcoming spot at Clinton Parkway and Castle covers all the bases, like their own handcrafted beers and all the televisions you need for great sports viewing, but it's the large, varied, and delicious menu that stands apart. From a favorite of mine like the awesome ahi tuna appetizer to great sandwiches, outstanding pizza, and truly fantastic entrees, the 23rd Street Brewery has it all. Matt and his friendly staff make it that much more enjoyable. Food until 10, fun until late. The 23rd Street Brewery is a can't-miss stop when you are in Lawrence. Well, we've got a whole lot of things to talk about, that's for sure. Some good, some bad, some indifferent, some controversial, some just plain factual. And, of course, this week is absolutely colored by the NFL draft on Thursday, which obviously is some people's idea of an American holiday. Of course, in my world, that is not necessarily the case. I like watching football. I like watching the draft, in fact. The lead-up to me, months and months, is wildly overdone. And also, perhaps this whole thing is colored a bit by the fact that back in 2012, I did attend the NFL draft as a reporter at Radio City Music Hall in New York. And when you go in person, it is not exactly spectacular fun. You would be much more advised that if Kansas City ever gets the draft, or if you had thoughts about heading to Nashville, except to make it a vacation, but maybe skip the draft part, sort of like going to the Pro Bowl. If I ever won a trip to the Pro Bowl, when it was back in Honolulu, I don't think I would have gone to the football game. But it was incredibly boring, actually. What you see on television when they make the picks is all that goes on, and in between, there might be young ladies who walk out on the stage and hold up placards or something like that, but mostly it's just a whole bunch of dead time between picks, and not the information you're picking up on TV. But as far as the Kansas City Chiefs are concerned, under Brett Veach, they've seemed to be a team that's going to be one of the more active teams all the time in the National Football League as far as acquisitions and things like that. This time around, they have a lot of draft picks to play with. They have a top draft pick for the first time in a couple of years as well with the 29th pick. Of course, when you're a good football team, you wait until late in the round, but they have extra picks also. You can easily expect that they will be moving around in the NFL draft. And except for quarterback, they pretty much, you could say that they have at least a variety of different needs, for certainly some that are more pressing than others. Certainly still on defense. I don't think we'll probably see a all-defense draft again, but you get positions all on the table like safety, corner, linebacker, pass rusher. Of course, with Ford and Houston gone, that certainly is a priority. Defensive line seems not undoubtedly, but perhaps the most likely place. But the discussion of the things that are going on with the Kansas City Chiefs leaks into another area and starts with the position of wide receiver that will be impacted by the status of Tyreek Hill. It brings us to that topic, and I'm of the feeling that when it was announced or reported that Tyreek Hill and his fiancée had their child taken out of their custody late last week, that was really going to be a pretty cut-and-dried situation for the Kansas City Chiefs, but it seems like from both the fan standpoint and maybe the Chiefs standpoint, that's not the case. In my world, that would have been a thing that made it easy for the Chiefs. Not an easy decision football-wise because you're getting rid of a good football player, but from the standpoint of having already cut Kareem Hunt for something that I don't think in any way, shape, or form rises to the level of what we're talking about here, that the Chiefs would act quickly. And they did not. They have not. Am I a little bit concerned that they are Machiavelli enough to be in a position where they're waiting to see what plays out during the course of this week, including the NFL draft, and that impacts the status of Tyreek Hill, not just the fact of what has occurred or what the Chiefs think has occurred or what they can prove has occurred or what the law enforcement people, who obviously didn't feel it rose to the level of being able to prove. But I think what has happened is quite obvious, at least to me. There was an incident or two, because the police came there twice. The police came, they investigated, but neither person was going to come forward with the kind of information that was needed. There were no other witnesses, so there was no way that this case could be prosecuted. But the child services people were, in my mind, certain that something obviously occurred. There was an injury to the 3-year-old child, and it seems obvious that they felt like that injury was not the result of an accident. And now they have taken the child away. And I think with the past history and the volatile nature of this relationship, for the life of me, I don't even understand why we are sitting still where we are sitting. And where we are sitting is that Tyreek Hill and his status is being judged in a pure football standpoint. And I think that, to me, is sad, to some NFL fans right now, because their focus is football and is on the NFL draft. I think that's all they're thinking about. All I've heard from many pundits, commentators, and fans as well is just concern about what kind of suspension that Tyreek Hill will get, not necessarily that he's going to be off this NFL football team. Maybe the Chiefs have a little bit of buyer's remorse for what they did with Kareem Hunt. I think they did the right thing, undoubtedly. They did color it as being, well, a large part because of the fact that he lied to them, which I thought was ridiculous cover fire at that point in time, that they just should have had the courage of their convictions to go out and cut him. But the thing is, it wasn't weeks. It was only a matter of days before he was gobbled up by the Cleveland Browns, and maybe in retrospect they're looking at that and said, well, we felt if we did the right thing that maybe the rest of the league would be in lockstep with us, and anything but that happened. And I think they're well aware that Tyreek Hill will be playing football somewhere else if they were to release him, although I think Tyreek Hill might have a little bit more of a difficult situation than Kareem Hunt did. But I still am surprised, color me surprised right now on this day, that Tyreek Hill seems to be still potentially in the plans of the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, that brings us to the NFL draft themselves, whether the Chiefs will think wide receiver, whether the Chiefs will stick to mostly going for defense, and whether we'll be able to tell in some regard what their thoughts are about Tyreek Hill because of their actions during the course of NFL Draft Week. And this all is adding into the fact that they are now, according to many reports, potentially in the market for Seattle pass rusher Frank Clark. Clark has a domestic violence past as well. He also has some incidents with teammates and things like that. But since he's come into the National Football League, there has been no further domestic violence incidents, although there have been a couple of Twitter reports of late of him ill-treating, at least on Twitter, a female reporter in the Seattle area who was reporting on domestic violence issues. And he's had to issue a couple of apologies that didn't seem to really rise to the level of much. But it is surprising in some ways that the Chiefs are entertaining this. It is not surprising from an NFL standpoint. This is something that is sort of NFL-centric, maybe a little bit NBA too, but we have to, every time players are being evaluated these days, that's a part of the conversation. A part of the conversation is what type of citizen this person is, what type of character they have. And NFL teams constantly talk about it. The Chiefs talk about it like it really matters to them. But then their actions go and show that they really don't care that much. They just care enough so that they don't get in trouble public relations-wise. And I think that's the case here. Sometimes teams will float these things out there to test the waters as far as their fans are concerned. In my mind, it seems that most fans of the Kansas City Chiefs would be receptive to having Frank Clark come to the Chiefs, a 25-year-old, very talented pass rusher. He would cost them a lot of money. He is not on a significant contract now, but would be, and that's a very impactful decision for the Chiefs to make. And of course, it raises the question as to why Seattle wants to get rid of a very good football player, but they just spent millions and millions of dollars on their quarterback, Russell Wilson, and having another player who wouldn't be quite in that category but would be very highly paid is something that maybe they can't do and end up taking up 50% or so of their cap on just a couple of players. So that's part of the mix as well. Should be an interesting week, and I will enjoy watching the draft. I will not enjoy some of the things that are going on around it right now, and to me it's not that much fun covering the Kansas City Chiefs right now and following the Kansas City Chiefs for a variety of these reasons, but watching them acquire football players and all the action that goes on in the NFL draft is what sports fans and what sports is all about, and that is enjoyable, and Chiefs fans will be getting excited about what type of players they get. This all kind of goes back to just a few years ago when I was working the draft and the Chiefs did select Tyreek Hill, and it was something that I was against. We'll see if there's any situations that rise to that level in this year's NFL draft. Late last week as well, University of Kansas finally filed an appeal for Silvio De Sousa, and that sort of brought the discussion of De Sousa's situation again. Many people are extremely, extremely opinionated on both sides of this issue, and I think I fall somewhere in between. It's not really sexy commentary to sit around and talk about middle ground, but I understand why the NCAA wants to be strong now in these situations, and I understand why people have some feelings for Silvio De Sousa as well, who's not playing basketball right now. But for a large portion of the fandom of Kansas Jayhawks, particularly, their concern about Silvio De Sousa is about playing basketball for the Kansas Jayhawks. I don't think they really have that much of sympathy for De Sousa the person. Some people do, and I understand that. I think the idea that he is some kind of victim or real strong victim is overdone. I think it's overdone on that side because Silvio De Sousa can play basketball for money anytime he wants. Can he play in the NBA? I don't know. I would say his chances of playing in the NBA or maybe even being drafted right now are not great, but there's all kinds of basketball to be played all around the world for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So to act as if it's some kind of absolute disaster, I think, is overdone. And also, what are we to do here? What is the NCAA to do in these situations? Are they to allow every player who has people on his behalf going around with their hands out trying to get money? Do they just let everybody play and act as if they all don't know anything? By all indications, or at least the NCAA's indications, they feel like Silvio De Sousa was not in on this scheme. Does that mean he knew absolutely nothing? That's the way it's being presented, and I'm not necessarily buying that either. Silvio de Sousa, the narrative of him being